how to deal with these problems, and you usually transfer that ability of problem solving, taking a step back and going, okay, let's see how I get out of this situation. You transfer that to life too. When you have a problem, instead of going impulsive, right, I'm going to make this decision on that and this, you go, okay, let's take a step back here and analyze my other options.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do in Jiu Jitsu. You got to really, we have a saying in Jiu Jitsu that goes, if you think, you're late.
Yeah.
That means if you're going to stop to think what's going on, you're probably going to be late. But the options that you train are so much, you train all the options so much that they are available naturally to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's funny like that. It's a very crazy sport. You have to be there once, at least once, under someone sweating on top of you, feeling the pressure.
Which is a funny thing. The first time I trained, it was an open roll with a different gym, and because I didn't have any brothers when I grew up, and I've only had mates, and the closest we've become is being in a band, and and even with boxing. You're trying to punch each other. You'll still have a bond. It's a combat sport, so there's nothing better to look someone in the eyes and here we go, let's dance.
Yeah.
But I remember the first day. Okay, what do? We'll get on the ground. I'm going to stick my balls on top of your balls, basically. In the mount or the in half guard and all that sort of stuff.
You can choose.
Yeah, you kind of go, whoa, this is wrestling. This is the craziest. And you get over that hurdle.
Yeah.
And realize you're actually dealing with killers here, people who can who know a lot of tricks, and who knows all these tricks on the street. Because
exactly.
Even if you were the greatest boxer on the street, I'm sure any female could come up behind you and
sneak a choke.
Yeah, sneak a choke and do some of these little things. So it's.
Yeah.
Have you ever done anything like that, Rika?
No. I used to do kendo in Japan.
Yeah.
That's with our sword,
yeah. With the bamboo sword. My children used to do Arakan. I didn't like Arakan, but we won't go into that.
Why? What is it?
Well,
I don't even know what Arakan is.
That's a Burmese martial art. And I don't know, that's what I was going to ask you about the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because with the Burmese one, and I think with a lot of the Japanese, with karate, I know that it was originally a combat, to actually do some damage, which they've modified to make it a self-defense
system.
Yeah. So is that the same with...
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu has a funny story behind it because, you look at the main, the Gracie, family. They will tell you Jiu-Jitsu comes from, originally from India back in the day where the merchants used to travel little roads there trying to sell their merchandise and they would get attacked. So they invented a system to try to defend themselves. There's another part that tells you that it was originated in Japan. That's it. It's a branch from judo that takes you down to the ground as well. Actually, judo is a branch of jiu-jitsu. Actually, kids just focus more on the takedown.
I actually do believe that because Brazil brought a lot of stuff to Japan.
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Brazil.
But the jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Brazil, it's a very multicultural society, man. Very much.
Yeah, but
imagine Australia in a larger scale, So Australia's got 22 million people, 23 million people. Brazil is up to 240 million, 250 million. And exactly what happened here happened there. Second World War, a lot of immigration, Japanese, Italians, Lebanese, you name it, man. They were all there and created their own world. Like if you go to Sao Paulo, which is a 50 million people city, you probably have 4 or 5 million Japanese in a suburb called Liberdade, where they live all there. And then you have a suburb where all the Italians live, and they have, you know what I mean?
Wow,
So Brazil is what Australia will be in probably 20 years' time, 30, if you keep going the way we're going.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
But, very multicultural. So what happened? Back in the 1900s, beginning of the century, a Japanese count rocks... No, not Kant.
Some Japanese Kant.
Yeah, there are some.
Right?
There are some too. Let's back this up. Let's back this. I'm just a Japanese enterprise. Just a guy that wanted to do business,
I don't like him already.
If he was a count, oh look, it's up to him, man. Anyway, he must have been. Who knows? Anyway, he rocks up.
Count. A count.
Yes, a count. Yeah.
Okay.
What does that mean in Japan, though? A count, like
Count Dracula count.
Yeah, a count, but not a Dracula. Just a count.
Yeah, count.
Okay.
This is the title he had. Don't ask me why he had his title.
Why?
That is, he's rocking up in Brazil. Take the picture back in the 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I want to settle in Brazil and come live here. He's trying to flee war-torn Japan or whatever that is that was happening back in the day there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he comes and he settles exactly in the city where the Gracie family used to live. So the Gracie family, the father of Elio and Carlos Gracie, which are the two creators, the inventors of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, he helps this Japanese guy to come and settle down in Brazil and settle in there. And he helps him with financially, helps him when, tell him where to go, where to do things. In exchange to that, he actually says, look, I'm going to teach your kids a very important martial art called Jiu Jitsu. Back then, they could not teach Jiu Jitsu because it was prohibited by Japanese law to actually teach Jiu Jitsu. Only the samurais could teach Jiu Jitsu to somebody else. So he was actually going against the law,
Oh, see, that's all coming together in my head now. It is because, remember I was telling you ages ago, because in my head, I didn't realize jiu-jitsu was a Brazilian word. I didn't realize it was a Brazilian...
No, it's a Japanese word.
Japanese word. You said it was magic, remember?
Well, because in my head, jiu-jitsu is something that the ninjas used to do.
But that's what we'll steal you. Our background is the ninjas. So
really?
they learned that mostly the samurais more than the ninjas. The
ninjas
used to do it too, but the samurais are the traditional, the honorable carriers of the knowledge of jiu-jitsu. Yeah? So they actually used to defend the emperors and all the, the state governors or whatever they call it back in the day in Japan. So they had the knowledge of this martial art. They were the only ones who were allowed to have this knowledge of the martial art. But this guy comes to Brazil, and somehow he doesn't have this knowledge, and he passes it on to Carlos and Elio Gracie. Carlos and Elio Gracie start learning that stuff and starting really
now it's making so much
realizing
sense.
how much he was good and this. But Helio was the skinnier one of both of them. And he couldn't really do the big throws of jiu-jitsu. And so he started learning more and more and understood that he could create a separate thing that would use more leverage than strength to actually apply the technique. Here is welcome Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So he invented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu through the original Jiu-Jitsu of Japan.
I see.
So this is why you can never separate these two. They are linked somehow. The difference is the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu focus a lot on the ground. There's a lot of groundwork. We'll take our opponents, take them to the ground, and then we try to submit. But can we submit him standing up? Yes, for sure. Can we finish the fight standing up? Yes, for sure. But we focus more on the groundwork.
Yeah.
That is the main difference between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu, amongst other things. But and that is, a bit of the history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that people don't seem to know. They think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was invented in Brazil. Yes, it was, but it has the whole background of the real Jiu-Jitsu behind it.
That does actually make a lot of sense to me because I remember I kept saying Jiu-Jitsu doesn't even exist in Japan. It's but if it was only limited to a specific sector of the Japanese population, then of course the commoners wouldn't know about it.
Wouldn't know,
yeah.
But Jiu-Jitsu in Japanese, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how we learn it. It means gentle art. So it's exactly the art that you use to actually, without punching and striking to submit your opponent. You know what I mean?
So I don't know. I'd have to do some research because as far as I knew, it was like Jiu is like magic and Jitsu is skill. So it's a magical skill.
Could be,
was the way that I would interpret.
The way we learn it.
Oh, it feels the same.
Feels the same.
The way we
magical
learn
skill.
it is it's the light art, the gentle art, the art that doesn't use any violence towards your opponent. So you see, we don't strike, we don't punch, we don't kick. What we do is restrain our opponents. so on and so forth.
And try and murder them at the end.
Oh, look.
But it's
Comes
like that.
naturally after.
Yeah, but there's so much strength involved in it. Like,
oh, look,
everyone at your gyms, like we all turn into, you know, it's surprising how physical it is to wrestle, because your life depends on it.
Yeah,
you have these little 7-minute rounds at the end of every. That's the difference in it, I'm sure. For the karate, the judo, the boxing I've done, you don't spar at the end of every single class. Yeah. You don't fight for your life against another white belt.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just don't do that. So when it's, you know, the sensei or the coach, or you're over there, you're out of sight, and I'm fighting with another white belt to the death.
I'm never out of sight, man.
You're never out of sight.
I'm always watching over you. Don't worry. I know. You might think that I'm not, but I am, man. Trust me.
He's got eyes in the back of his head.
I always hope so.
I think people go to me and I rock up at the gym and go, Mike, I heard you heard the little, like Byron, one of my students, you know Byron. He heard another girl training with one of the girls, and the girl was like, oh, Byron, I hurt my elbow the other day. Okay, don't worry, leave it with me. So today I bump into Byron and I go, hey, man, how's it going? What happened? Why did you hurt Christy? You weren't even here. How do you know that? I got eyes in the back of my head, man. I'm everywhere.
That's excellent.
And he was like, oh, no, what's going on? But yeah, we try to... Look, man, this is a normal thing. You know, sparring in Jiu-Jitsu, you know, training, you know, that's the word that says it, everything. You come every night to train. So you learn new stuff, and you need to put it in practice. So, see, that stuff that you're saying that, we fight for our life every day. I wish that I could get that away from all the white belts, because white belts are the ones that fight for their lives. Once you start being promoted in Jiu-Jitsu and get to understand it more, you see that the idea is not to fight for your life. The idea is to go there and actually experiment, put yourself in as many positions and situations as you can. Good situations where you're winning and bad situations where you're losing, so you can actually experience how to escape and how to win. Thank you. You know what I mean? And that is the idea. Expose yourself as much as you can, so you can actually, you know, be able to say, look, I've been, when actually the real fight for your life happens, you can actually go, oh, I've been here before and I know what to do. You know what I mean? Rather than go, whoa, what's going on? I've trained Jiu-Jitsu for 10 years, but I've never been with a guy holding me, choking me from the back. How could you experience, how could you know what to do if you've never been there? You know what I mean? Yeah. And that is the idea. You need to experience. So there you go. If there's something that I've got out of this interview today, I taught you something. You need to stop fighting for your life.
No, you're a great teacher.
Thank you.
No, you really are.
Thank you.
And it takes only certain people can do it properly. Because, you know, my thought on religion, and I don't know anything about religion, but the few times that I've actually gone to a church, and another comedian said this, Bill Burr, is that my problem with churches and things is that there's a whole, you're in a church, but I can't stop judging the guy that's talking to me. Like, look at him, look at what he's wearing, or you know, I could do a better show than this, something like that.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? You know, and a great teacher is, you're just lost in the world. Like, you know. But I'm not trying to.
But wouldn't that be?
Sorry,
but going back to a couple of conversations ago, but that would be one of the reasons why it's so frustrating for you, that it's getting easier for people to get the black belt.
Absolutely, everything. Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the same with the Japanese martial arts. I find, you know, like they're teaching at PCYC now, and the instructors are wearing black belts teaching karate and judo, and I'm like, you've got nothing over the Japanese black belt karate masters in Japan. So you would find that too.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you?
Look, especially, you know, I come from a very old strict school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My black belt, my sensei, the guy who gave me my black belt, is Paulo Guimarães from Roots in Sydney. He's a black belt from Jorge Pereira, which is a black belt from Rika and Gracie. So I'm not that far down the line when you comes from the first generation.
From the top,
of, you know, from Gracie's. You know, I'm 4th down the line, which for me it's absolute honor and privilege to have had the chance to train with Paulo, to train with Georgie, to have some Gracie's seminars in my life. And once you've seen how these guys actually, what is that they teach? How do they actually, what are they actually trying to get out of